T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Are you a woman in need of wisdom? Do you sometimes battle with separating who you are now versus who you feel like you ought to be? Do you question God's plan for your life? Is there a sense of uncertainty in the areas of choosing healthy relationships? Hi, I'm Nadira, your life and impact coach. In becoming a woman of Proverbs, it is my desire to help you grow into the woman that God has designed you to be. We offer short videos with moments of wisdom for any circumstance using the Word of God. No matter what it is, we are here for you. Make sure you download the app today.
Hello. Welcome to Sisterhood Check-In. I am your host, Nadira Lewis, and we have an awesome show lined up for you today. I have with me Miss Takeeia and Vali Rose today. And we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that Vali Rose is doing at such a very young age. Now, I know it's late, so we're not going to keep Vali Rose up too late, but we're not going to wait any longer. So may I introduce to you Takeeia and Vali Rose. Hello, Miss Vali.
Say hi.
How are you? Miss Arthur, the youngest Arthur I've ever met.
Say hi, Vali.
How are you? How does it feel to be an Arthur? How does it feel to be an Arthur?
It feels good. How do I feel?
It feels good.
Yes, yes.
You feel like talking to us tonight, Miss Vali Rose?
Are you gonna say hi tonight?
Say hello to my audience.
Say hello, wave to everybody. Hello.
I see you got company with your brother. Hey, Jackson.
Show Jackson, Vali. Jackson, say hi. Yeah,
Well,
bedtime.
yes, it's late. I understand. So, Miss Vali Rose, I heard that you are an author, that you have written the book called The Story of Your, of course you had it with the assistance of your mom, but you have written a book called The Life of Vali Rose.
Show your book, Val.
You want to show us your book?
Can you show your book?
Oh, look at that. Nice. Awesome. Can you tell us, that book is beautiful, Takeeia. It looks gorgeous. So tell the audience, what caused you, first before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I am Takeeia Perry, and I'm the mom of these two very active children. So what made me, well, I guess a little bit about myself. I am by profession a special education teacher. I'm in my teaching credentials for California, Louisiana, and the state of Mississippi. But I just recently transitioned into working with the DoD. So I work for the Department of Defense as an instructor on the Air Force Base. So I did that because I wanted to transition out of the school system so that I can be able to advocate for families with students with disabilities. Okay, this is what we'll do. Be patient. Yes, take your bonnet off. So that I can work with children with disabilities and families and help them with the services that they need. Y'all, I'm sorry. This is real life right here. So.
Look, I definitely understand. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old, so I understand. We're not here to show you perfect. We're just here to just be yourself. So, Miss Vali Rose, did you help your mommy in the book?
Did you help me write the book? Yes, how? Who is the book about? Yes, it's about you. The book that I wrote is about Valley Rose. There's actually a series of books. I just released the first book in the series, which is called Bald and Beautiful. My reasoning for that was because when I had, well, it was they're all based on Valley Rose, like to the T, are all about her. Um, the way she acts, the way she carries herself, the language that she used. So in my book, you might like this one in particular. I might say shake it. Um, I use the word I the way she uses the word I. I wanted to make sure it was very much so toddler based and they so that children could really identify with the character of the text and not just say this is Valley Rose, but could also call them this is myself. Um, I hope Jackson don't like try to expose me.
I know I have a 3-year-old.
I can set it up.
I know they're babies. I understand. Trust and believe. I understand the pulling of the knobs. I understand. I get it.
There we go. All right. So with that, the first book is called Bald and Beautiful.
Okay.
So I mean, when God showed me Valley in a dream, showed me my child, all I knew was I was having a little girl. That's all I knew. I knew she was pretty and she was brown skinned. And so when I was pregnant, everybody's like, "Oh, she's gonna have all this hair. She's gonna da 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 da." Child, my baby came out bald head. The midwife was like, "I ain't never seen a bald headed black baby," and I was just like, "Huh?" You know, it didn't bother me. My baby, when I say beautiful, she was beautiful. She's always been beautiful. She's beautiful now,
Yes.
but she has friends who have different hair. So some hair don't grow fast. Some hair grows not as fast. I mean, Valley has hair. So her hair is very becoming of who she is. And I wanted her to like embrace that. Like no matter how your hair looks, no matter how long, no matter how short, like embrace your beauty, embrace what God has given you,
Absolutely.
and just be free. But I didn't have like Valley, she made that like so easy because the girl loves her hair however it is, and she loves to wear her beads, which she calls shake it, and she loves her bows, and she wants to be able to shake them. So when I wrote Bald and Beautiful, it was just to let kids know, like, embrace it. Like, pick out your beads, pick out your bows, make your clothes shine. Like, honey, be you, and don't be afraid of it, even at a toddler age. And because that's how Valley is. People always say that she used to be in TV. She's very dramatic. Oh my gosh, look at Valley. So I'm like, how can I take what everyone says about her, but use it to where I know I'm doing something that I know she enjoys because she enjoys reading books and can picture read like crazy, but still share her story and be creative and fun. So this book, like I love to write, especially children's books. And my mom called me one day and she was just like, I've been trying to get everybody else to write a book. I'm like, my brother, yo, if you write a book, I'll help you. Just write it. And then my cousin, hey, you're so good with words, just write a book. I'll help you. Then my mom's like, you keep trying to tell everybody else to write a book. God just dropped my spirit to tell you you need to write a book based off of that. And within I probably in like 2 hours that I had 5 books written, 5 children's books written, and I instantly just went with it. I started finding illustrators, started doing research, and like this is just me from the ground, from scratch. No knowledge. Like I did a little research to kind of understand. I asked friends some questions, but it's most definitely all me.
Yeah. And you know, it's a good thing because a lot of you're kind of like helping, you know, with little girls that young, you have to start with building their esteem, their self-esteem early. You have to start telling them, at an early age that they're beautiful and that and start instilling in them, the word of God, and instilling the value, their value of who they are, so that when they get older, because I said this, I think I said this in a couple of broadcasts and maybe in other areas, whether it was in lives or whatever, where I mentioned that as little girls, we're always taught to be domestic. We're taught to be mothers and wives and everything else. And those things are good in its timing and in its place. But I believe when they are young, when children are young, that there should be a lot of emphasis on building up who they are, building them up in the Word of God, letting them know that God sees them as peculiar and unique, and that He has a plan for their life, and give them the opportunity to display that before they position themselves to be somebody's mother or somebody's wife. And then I think it'll help with building their self-esteem. So I think it's pretty awesome that you're using these books and using all the things that you could have saw as negative, or even somebody else, and using it as an opportunity to speak life into Valley Rose, and to speak life into other babies or other little girls that may feel the same way. There's a part of me that wanted to do like a little children's book, but I don't know, with Bella Joy, she's not, I'm still discovering something that she wants to do.
Her name has to be something else. Like, her name is in the light. People hear Valley's name, they're like, that name is supposed to be down. It's the same with your baby. So it's like finding something like your name. Like your name means something. Like you represent something. When people see your name or they hear your name, they know that there's purpose behind it. So, like you're saying, like
when we take the time to name them names that have purpose with it, because some of us don't always give our girls or boys names that have purpose. Some of these names are like you have to go in you have to kind of like figure out what some of these names mean. But
exactly,
yeah.
So that's what I do. Like with Valley, they're like, "Where'd you get Valley Rose?" And there's a very meaningful story behind her name. So when I tell it, they're like, "Oh my gosh!"
What's the story behind her name?
Okay, so
I was gonna ask that next. I'm like Oprah Winfrey. So how did that? No, I'm just going. Like, how did that begin?
So my grandma, she was sick with cancer, and I was, trying to have kids with my husband, but wasn't quite successful. But I just knew something didn't feel right. But at the same time, I knew that God, you didn't give me a husband and have me go through college and all this not to be able to have children. Like, I don't think that's my story. So I had a dream. My grandma would always talk about me having babies. And right before she passed away, I had a dream. And in the dream, it was a baby in the valley. It was a green meadow. That's what I refer to it as. Not that if I ever had another kid, I'll name it Meadow Rain because of like how the imagery was. But it was a green, very lively meadow. But in the middle of this meadow was a baby, and it had a beautiful brown baby in it. I mean, beautiful. And I knew it was a girl, but I could not see her face. But I knew it was a girl. And I kept hearing Valley Rose, Valley Rose, Valley Rose. So I wake up and I call my mom. My mom was like, my BFF. So I'm like, Mom, I'm going to have a baby.
Hey, Sonia.
Right. I don't know when I'm going to have this baby, but I'm going to have a baby. And her name is going to be Valley Rose. And my mom was like, I'm going to call you right back. So, y'all Bible toting mama. She called me right back, too, and she said, go to Song of Solomon 2:1. I got something for you. And she said, read it and call me back. I read it, and I started to cry. Because the scripture said, I am Rose of Sharon, the lily of the valley. My grandmother's name was Lily. I always call her the lily of the valley. And my baby was in the valley. And I said, Valley Rose, the Rose of Sharon. That's my baby. Hey, what you want?
Beautiful. I love that name. I remember when you were pregnant with her and when you first showed pictures of her on Facebook and you said her name and I thought, wow, Valley Rose. That is
Yes,
beautiful.
she is most definitely my Valley Rose.
Oh,
Just the ability to conceive her and go through um, everything I had to go through to have children with IVF, and the loneliness and not understanding, having to do a lot of research, just having to go through the process. Like both of my children are very dear to me. I call them my dream and my desire. Valley came to me in a dream, and Jackson was my desire because I didn't ever want her to be by herself. So I had a desire to have a sibling for her. So just setting them up is like most definitely a priority to me, and showing them all the love that I could possibly show and give to them while here, and including them in any and everything that is positive. Like that's my goal. Like that's all I want to do. So if it's like how I don't mind sharing my story, I want her to be able to share her story. I want what she go through and what we go through daily to be an inspiration to somebody else. So if parents are struggling with helping their kids understand how to make friends and socialize, like I have two military babies, they have to move a lot. We move. We have to just. They have friends who are in the military, who parents are in the military. Valley loses friends, and she's like only 3, and she had like Christian. I was pregnant with his mom, and Christian left and Valley left at the same time. So she doesn't get to see Christian that often. She sees him over the phone. Like she has relationships with people who from birth that she won't always get to see every day. So teaching that skill. So that's like one of the books. She has a cousin with autism. Like him and Valley were very close. And now he's a big brother. So like just putting those stories in writing so people can see that this is real. Like these thoughts, what you're experiencing is real. And if I use my baby to share her story and her experiences that everybody else experienced, but just don't write about, I think that's going to be an awesome thing for kids. Again, like I said, I teach special education, so I kind of look at her stories like social stories. Look at them as ways for children to like an instruction that children can say, "Oh, this is me." And this is what I should do with my frustration when I want to take a bath, but I don't want to take a bath, or how I want to play with my cousins, but don't know how to play with my cousins. Like her books are not just stories, but they're kind of instructional manuals for children, her of her age group to be able to follow and use as guidance to say that it's okay.
that's awesome. You talked a little bit about I heard you mention about your IV. You had gone through so much with the IVF. Talk to us a little bit about that because there may be somebody that might be watching that has that same hope and desire, that same dream and desire to have a baby.
Yes.
And they need a little bit of encouragement. Might be a husband and wife that might have been crying for a very long period of time. I know for me, once I had my first group of kids, when I remarried and my husband and I knew that my husband wanted to have kids. And I didn't know if I was able to have any more kids because I went through so many miscarriages. I went through 3 miscarriages before I actually had Bella Joy. And it was devastating. And I think what was more heartbreaking to me is because I felt like I had already had kids. I'd already had that experience of being able to, have my kids, pulling on me, tugging on me, waking up to them in the morning. And I know with him, he had a different story. And so that first miscarriage, when I saw how it affected him, I knew that became my desire. I wanted to make sure that I could have another baby so that he can have that same experience that I had because I had already had 4 children. And so I was good. I had already, been through the
Right.
labor times 4 and been through and my kids were getting older. So when I seen the disappointment in his face, and when I seen him in the kitchen actually sitting on the floor crying because I had a miscarriage, that became my desire and my dream for him. Little
Right.
I'd have to be doing it alone. But I had 3 miscarriages like back to back, and I just thought maybe and I knew that it was a really strong desire for him, and that was becoming a dream and desire for me. And I remember feeling so overwhelmed because every time I got pregnant, I kept losing the baby, and one day out of nowhere, it just happened. So talk to some mothers and some want to be fathers that have that same desire and is praying and God for a child.
I think as children we all have like this fantasy of what we want our reality to be when we grow older, and a lot of us is to have children, and some of us are like, I don't want to have kids, I don't want to have kids. I'll first say, like, go back and rebuke all those I don't want to have kids that you said over yourself as you were growing up. It can happen. It just happens to happen differently for some people. For me, I was regular. There was no reason why I shouldn't have been able to get pregnant. There was no reason why my husband shouldn't have been able to get pregnant, according to all the data that I was doing, taking my temperatures every morning, doing ovulation tests, watching my body actually ovulate according to my temperatures. Like, I could tell you, I could probably get anybody pregnant. Research that I did, and then getting test results back that was like off the charts normal. Like, and doctors are confused, so they had diagnosed me with what they call unexplained infertility. So when she said that, I kind of got ashamed. I didn't discuss this with nobody. I call this a lonely process. I'm actually in the midst of like creating my own book that I set to the side just so I could focus on Vali a little while, but it's called Black, Infertile, and Alone, because that's how you are. I was a Black woman, very little knowledge, because in our culture we don't talk about miscarriages or the inability to conceive. You know, aunties who don't have kids are just that auntie who didn't want to have kids. While all along, like, being that auntie who couldn't have kids doesn't mean that you didn't want to have children. It meant that you didn't understand how to have children, or you didn't have no one to talk about your inability to have kids. So you were silent by that image that people put on you and called you now the auntie who couldn't have, the auntie who just didn't want kids. But you're not that auntie. So don't allow people to speak that over your life. I just wanted to say that now. You're not that uncle who's just a cool uncle. You are an uncle who wants a son or a daughter. You just been put in a different situation. It's going to be very important that you and your spouse communicate. Because as the woman, how you said you bared that, I wanted this dream for my husband. I had this desire for my husband. You carry that load, and we carry a lot different from men. And men cry, and they carry it in a different way.
And he did cry. I watched him sit on the floor in the kitchen. I couldn't believe it. He was crying. That's when I realized how I was like, wow, this was something just very small to me because I had already had kids. I didn't realize how much it was affecting him. Yeah.
And I didn't realize, I think the moment that really hit me, we moved to San Diego. The nurse, we actually live in Mississippi, and the nurse out here said to me, you're going to San Diego. They have a great fertility unit out there at the military hospital, so you'll be fine. And that was my last appointment with her was probably in May. I didn't go to the doctor in San Diego until December because I was just freaked out the fact that you said that I had unexplained infertility. So when I finally did go to the doctor, And they were like, yeah, I'm going to get your husband's sperm count, but this is going to be so easy because you're a perfect candidate for IUI. It did not hit me that I was the problem or the issue with me or that this burden was mine to bear until they told me that my husband's sperm count was like, the lady was like, oh, you got great sperm.
Wow.
So it's not him, and I didn't say that to him, but again, I was Black, I was infertile, and I was alone. So at that point, I began to feel it hit me in the loneliness space because he couldn't feel what I was feeling at that point because he should have been able to have kids. Why isn't this man having kids? Why does this woman make kids for him? That's what I began to think to myself. And it's a hard process. But with God, like I want to tell you, it was my faith. Like I tell you, I walk by faith and not by sight. That dream, that baby in that meadow, that Valley Rose, I spoke her over my life from the moment that I saw her in my dream. And I think I dreamed about Valley January 2015 up until her conception. Actually, when the doctors started telling me I was going through the process, yes, this is Valley Rose, Valley Rose. I didn't even know if I was having a girl or a boy when they started pulling the eggs and retrieving the eggs out of me and started implanting my husband's sperm in those eggs. Valley Rose is in one of these embryos. That's all I knew. And the doctor was like, do you want to keep some of your eggs and, give some away? I said, no, you need to fertilize all of my eggs. I said, because one of those is Valley Rose, and I can't tell you what it is. So if I was to give away my Valley Rose, there's going to be a problem. So I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. So I kept all of them, and I had them all fertilized, and it was 14 of them that was frozen, and one of them I knew was Valley Rose. So when they picked my first egg, I said, you don't have to tell me if it's a boy or girl, because I didn't test it. I wanted to keep them all as natural as possible. I wanted to keep the process as natural as possible. So I said, just pick me one. I said, but just make sure it's my Valley Rose. And obviously they couldn't determine it because they hadn't tested for gender at all. But I prayed, and I knew, I was like, oh, this is a girl. It's Valley Rose. And I did conceive on the first try.
Awesome.
And I spoke over my body. I prayed over my body. I read this book called Supernatural Childbirth. I have been reading that book since 2014. And I prayed those prayers. I began to be even more specific about what my situation was. And that's going to be important. So if you're struggling, honey, you need to find out exactly. You cannot pray for something that you don't know about. So you have to go to the doctor. You have to get whatever test. I got you too. You have to get whatever test you need to get done, your HSG, your blood work. You get it all done so that you can see exactly what you need to be praying for as it relates to your diagnosis. So that you can start praying against those polyps, or start praying against that endometriosis, or start praying against that scar tissue, or start praying against that unexplained infertility, start praying against those blocked tubes. You have to start praying against that. You can't wait for the doctor to do it, because the doctor don't pray. I mean, you might have some doctors who operate by faith, but no, this is your faith walk. This is your story, so you have to do that, and that's what I did. And it showed me and connected me to God on a whole nother level. And when I just look back over it and I think about it, now, God, take me back there. Because, like, that relationship with him, like, I still know I got a strong relationship with God, but that one was like a whole, like, get me there. Like, take me back there. What I got to do to get back there?
Yeah.
You did something.
But you have a few people that are actually leaving comments. Pam Elliott, thank you for your comment. She said Valley Rose expressed herself with confidence. And we also have Shakima. Hi, Shakima. She said, "Hey, Nadira." Hi, Shakima. So I think your story about you desiring to have a baby and all the things that you went through. I think you're right, because with women, sometimes we have a habit of, we'll internalize things, and we'll kind of just, where men are a little bit, men do deal with things a little differently. They tend to internalize things too. We might find one or two friends or a family member, that we might, confide in, but it is a very real issue. People, there's somebody else that made a comment, says, hi Nadira and Valley Rose and Jackson. That sounds like that might be that. I don't know who that. It just says Facebook user. Guys, if you leave a comment, make sure you check the box that says give StreamYard permission to review. That way we can see the person that's actually leaving a comment, so we won't just have to say Facebook user. But thank you for all the comments. But I think it's a very real issue where infidelity is concerned, and I think there's probably quite a few people that are like you. Probably feels like, well, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I felt the same thing, because here I had 4 children that were perfectly healthy, and I felt like I shouldn't have had any issues on getting pregnant with any of the children that I had before Bella and McKinley. And I was just like, I'm recording. See, I even got to be a mom, even at home.
Real life.
And it's crazy because it's not even with the little kids; it's the big kids. That's the crazy part. But I, before I had Bella and before I had the other Bella and McKinley, I kind of went through the same thing. Hold on one second. Okay, back to these messages. But I felt the same way with it. I tried 3 times and I had miscarriages, and I started to feel like, well, what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? Because it's not like I couldn't get pregnant. I just wasn't able to keep. It was just seemed like I kept losing the babies. So I was thinking about a lot of different things. I was thinking about my age. I was thinking about, maybe I just maybe my uterus was tired. I was thinking all kind of stuff.
Right.
But I realized that, I just allow God to just bring Bella and McKinley in His timing. It was a little discouraging, even when I did get pregnant the second time. It was just like, and it was an incredible amount of stress too. I had an incredible amount of stress. I was starting to homeschool Adam, and it was his first year. So we had just moved to Georgia from Jacksonville. So there was a lot of stress, a lot of different things going on. And so, yeah, it was a lot going on. But then that third time, I did everything they told me to do. I rest. I didn't do a whole lot. I tried not to stress. I tried not to be anxious, and I still had a miscarriage. Doing all the right things. But and I say that to encourage any mother that desires to have a baby, may have had miscarriages, may have lost a baby. It is a very difficult time, and you have to take it one day at a time. And sometimes when a day gets to be too much, you got to take it one moment at a time.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you when you tried all those times and you realized, okay, you know what, this is not happening?
It was disheartening, but I had, like, at first it was like very disheartening. But I had this book, and when I tell you this book built my faith, it taught me that God didn't that wasn't God's plan for a woman's body, for you to not have children, to be barren. God's desire was not for that. It was His desire for you to be fruitful and multiply. It was His desire for you to carry children, to be the fruit of the earth. Like that. That's what His desire for women is and was, and that was the desire for my life, of Him for my life. I had to speak that over my life, though, even with knowing the doctor said I had unexplained. Well, if it's unexplained, I know who can explain it. That's what I had to say. The problem was, I did not know who to talk to. I'm from a small town. Again, the aunts who don't have kids, no one discusses that it's because they couldn't have children or they probably had issues with conception. It's because she's a good auntie and she didn't want to have it. No one discussed the trauma or the fact that she could have been raped or the fact that she's had miscarriages after miscarriage. No one discusses those things. So because we're not educated about it, we don't talk about it. And so I didn't have anyone to talk to because I felt like I would be judged. I felt like it was a bad thing because people, oh, Kia, when you gonna have kids, Kia? So I felt very alone, but I had to build my faith. And in the end, if anyone saw my post as it related to my baby, it was, you don't know my story. And I realized that the reason why God had me alone was because it was my story. And had my story been shared before my baby, before the actual results of my children, before the fruit was bared, then I would have been robbed of that moment to be able to show the faith that I had in God. I would have been robbed of that opportunity to be able to share people what a raw, true story of being alone and infertility as a Black woman looks like. I see now more Black women are actually starting to speak about it, but before, when I didn't know anybody who did IVF. I actually found a friend while I was doing her hair, and she was like, well, that was me. You get what I'm saying? But she doesn't tell her story. She says she's not there yet. I have another friend who talked to me about it, and I mean, the girl is like a YouTube star now, talking about her babies that came forth, but she didn't know anything about fertility, infertility, or anything until she talked to me. And I'm up praying with her in the middle of the night, and I'm helping her understand the process. Like, but that's okay. I'm okay to be the background. I'm here to share my story so people can get that faith. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you, Pam. Pam said, I'm sorry, it was a little bit of delay. Pam said that when Vali rolled into this world, it was God's plan. Takeeia's story is amazing, and I told her husband last week that he has the best wife. That's awesome. Thank you, Pam. I'm sorry, Takeeia, go ahead.
You find like my story, I really want women to know that you can do it. It's all about faith. Like if I can't tell anybody anything else, it's about your faith. Because if you don't have faith that he can and he will, if you don't have faith that your body can and that your body will, you won't. And if you don't research and get educated on those matters of your heart, then you will continue to be what people define of you and not what God has defined of you. Absolutely. And I know God didn't define those things of me. I know God didn't define me as a woman with unexplained infertility. I knew that was not my name. That's not what God named me. You know, God named me virtuous. God named me fruitful. God named me blessed. He didn't name me unexplained infertility, Takeeia. You know what I mean? Like, no. Like, I'm not a great aunt and a great godmom for no reason. He didn't give me these gifts just to share with other people. Like, he gave it to me to bring forth my own and share with my babies as well. Like, they're a testament of me. So I love sharing my story. I love encouraging to pushing them, to even telling them what type of stuff to go to the doctor and get done. What your insurance probably will and won't cover, what's normally covered, what's not covered. Like, I love encouraging that because I feel like we're not as educated. Gabrielle Union's not the only person who did IVF. Or, you know, like these Michelle Obama did IVF. Like, but a lot of people did not know these things. Even now, people know. That's my mom. I love my daughter.
Hi, Sonia. Thank you. Yes, she is, Sonia. Yes, she is.
I think people only know because, I mean, people will only know if you tell them. So I'm not ashamed. I don't mind being a voice for some people who need to hear it. Like, why not? If not me, who will? That's how I look at it. Same with my baby book. If I don't write a book, somebody else can write a book. So why not?
Yeah, and it's always somebody that, like I say, everybody has a story.
Right.
Everybody has something that I believe the things that we go through in our life and experiences that we have and the wisdom that we learn is there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's to help other people, you know. Some things we go through so that we can help other people get through those same different types of things that we experience.
Right.
We don't know who's watching. We don't know who's watching our life. You know, I leaned on that heavily when I was trying to get pregnant with Bella, you know, or at the time with just a baby period. I leaned on anybody's, you know, testimony or experience. You know, when it came to, you know, sharing their stories about what they did. Absolutely. This person, I think this is your mom. It says, how can you get the glory? How can I get the glory if we don't share our stories? And that's true. I actually went to a pregnancy center. And when I went to the pregnancy center, I remember this lady prayed for me. And I had just lost my husband. And I was like, oh my gosh, I found out I was pregnant. It was unexpected. And I was like overwhelmed. And I didn't know. And when she told me her story alone encouraged me. And she said, you had 3 miscarriages. She said, I had miscarriages too. And I thought, whoa, you know, so yeah, we do it. You know, we look to each other's stories, you know, to see, you know, how you gonna get out. How if he did it for them, you know, then, you know,
I definitely can do it for me, right?
Who's to say he can't do it for you if he's not a God of if he's no respecter of person? Right. So I think that's really important, you know, to be able to share. And I'm glad that you guys did go through the process and bring goals. You're so adorable, Takeeia. You are such a great mom, such an example to what, you know, to what it's like. I love seeing you and your husband and your baby pictures. You guys look so amazing. I love it. Oh, Vali Rose is tired. I know it's late.
Yeah.
Listen, make sure you support Vali Rose. Make sure you get her book, The Life of Vali Rose. You can get it at valirose.net. Or, you know, you can go to our website, Women of Proverbs Coaching, and click on Wisdom Academy. And everybody that actually appears on our show, their books are there also. You can get it there too. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking time, Takeeia. And I know it's late. I know you gotta get those. Hope Farrell says that you are an awesome mom. Yes, she is.
Thank you, Hope.
You are an awesome mom. I know you got to get those babies to bed. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Friday evening to talk with us about the book. Bye, Di Jackson. So I'm going to let you get your babies to bed.
Okay.
I appreciate you stopping by. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate y'all. And find me on social network if anybody needs any prayer or help with infertility.
Absolutely. All right, Takeeia. Thank you so much. Good night. All right. We are so glad that Takeeia, I know it's getting late. We usually do these shows pretty late, you know, when everybody's kind of home and relaxed. But for those of you that missed it and wasn't able to see, you can get Vali Rose book. You can go to womenofproverbscoaching.com and click on Wisdom Academy, and we have all the books again of everybody that's actually been on our show. You can go there, or you can visit Little Miss Vali Rose website at the Life of Vali Rose. The Life of Vali Rose website at thevalirose.net. www.valirose.net. Make sure you support her, guys. She's doing an awesome thing. She's, you know, it's difficult being a mom, you know, and a working mom. And for her to be able to take this opportunity to be able to write a book, to create a legacy for her kids is pretty darn awesome. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough, you know, being a mom, period, let alone to continue to add other entrepreneurial responsibilities too. So make sure you guys support her. Again, her website is valirose.net, or you can go to womenofproverbscoaching.com. If you or anybody that you know is dealing with any type of emotional trauma and needs help getting through it, make sure you go and visit bit.ly/emotional trauma to learn more on how you can get free from any type of emotional trauma, no matter what it is. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you so much. And until next week, I hope you all have a blessed weekend. Thanks for joining me. Good night.